Welcome back to another episode of The Doctor's In. I'm your doctor, C.G. Weinberg, and today I bring you a special summertime edition where I'm adding a new book from my reading list that I wasn't planning on reading, but kind of got thrown in my lap and I decided to go for it. So last week, for me as a teacher, was out service, and we were going over the classes we teach. And I was looking up texts, and I came to one, and I wanted to change it. So I've been teaching apologetics for a couple of years now, and when I first started doing it, it was recommended to me to do Greg Bonson's book, Always Ready, and I like it, but I've been teaching a couple of years now, and it's very, very repetitive. It's very good. It's a presuppositional apologetics book. Very, very good book. He does a really good job of taking Cornelius Van Til's teaching and distilling it in a very accessible way. But like I said, it's very repetitive. So after we got into it, like the first couple of weeks, going to about the first third of the book, it was like, okay, why are we still doing this book? Why don't we just speed up and get done with it? The end of it had some really good case studies I wanted to go through, so I'd always finish the whole book with this class. But I've been thinking about and looking for a replacement for it for a while, and I think I found one. And before I gave it to my headmaster for his approval to order it for the class, I figured I should probably read it. So I started last week and just finished today, and it is called, and it's on my iPad because I don't have the physical copy yet, A Shot of Faith to the Head by Mitch Stokes. Really good book. I highly suggest it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I just finished it today. It's a good one. So he's also Van Tillian, which means he falls in the same line as Greg Bonson, and most, it's kind of unfair to say, but I would say all good apologists. He's presuppositional. So he goes to the root belief, the root cause, the root stem of a belief, and we look at that. So what is the whole system built upon? Let's look at the beginning, the presupposition. If you're into logic, look at the precept. The precept, the premise. That's what I'm looking for. Look at the premise. If the premise is true, then we can look at the syllogism and see if it's also valid. So look for truth and then go from there. That's the presuppositionalist viewpoint in a nutshell. Super simplistic way. Let's look at the root cause. So Mitch Stokes is like that. He has a PhD. I really enjoy Mitch Stokes. I also teach his calculus book. But he was first an engineer, then became a theologian philosopher. And I like that view of philosophy and theology, of looking at it from the viewpoint of mathematics, because he scientifically and mathematically breaks things down, which I think is really good. So he looks at this book as what it should, a shot of faith ahead, looking to encourage Christians in their faith by looking at the atheist faith. Now, he has another book called How to Be an Atheist. I've heard it's really good. I haven't read it myself, but in that book, he then goes after an atheist is not skeptical enough. And he kind of hints at that in this book when he looks at David Hume as the, it was Berkeley and Hume were really the first skeptics in the early modern era. They're the first skeptics, and he kind of picks at Hume some in this book and going from there. So looking at Christian versus atheist, looking at the dogmatic belief side versus the rationalist scientific side. And really he looks at the fact that a Christian can also be rational and scientific, and an atheist is also dogmatic in belief. So he really looks at the whole argument and breaks it down and looks at the nuts and bolts of it, which is the whole point of the presupposition. Sorry, I have my notebook over here. So yeah, he gets into the fact that science can only really answer the how something works, not the why behind it. So science can only go so far, and that's his whole point with presupposition is a scientist cannot actually answer the big questions. They can only answer some of how things work. which is the whole point behind them looking for the theory of everything. They're looking to be able to answer that question, and so far they have not been able to answer it. So this book is very scientific, mathematical, and philosophical. And he's that way, I think, because he knows that the enemy, i.e., the atheist, is mathematical, scientific, and philosophic. And so he wants to play in their game. He wants to be on their playing field. And he quickly shows that actually that all those three playing fields are our fields. And they actually can't play. We use their rules. Actually, they use our rules. If you go to the root of it, and they have no answers. He really well shows this at the very end when he looks at the problem of evil. He's the first guy. I'm sure there's other ones. He quotes Plantinga so much, Alvin Plantinga, so much that I'm guessing he got it from Alvin, even though I'm not positive. I haven't read any of Alvin yet. He should probably be added to my list, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. I have still my pile of some reading to do. It's literally right there behind, well, in front of me, behind the camera, that I hope to start later tonight because work. I finished the giant project today. And so, yeah, I finally get to do what I want to do for the summer. Hopefully, I may actually be doing something else for school as well. But my really big task, it ended up being a 158-page document. I finished it up today, so I'm glad to be done with it. But yeah, so looking at the problem of evil, he looks at it from the Christian perspective. How can a good God that is sovereign have evil in the world? And I think he does a really good job of answering that. You should read the book to find out. But he then also goes to, there's a whole other chapter on how can atheists actually call something evil. He did a good job answering it. So basically, the atheist has to borrow Christian standards in order to call something evil. So they're playing on realms that they can't actually play in. They're playing on games, playing in fields that are not theirs to play in because, hey, you can't call something evil without some standard of evil. So he does a really good job dealing with that. The very end part, he does look at the fact that the world is rational, it is designed, and it has absolute standards. And he goes, the three major sections of the book goes to prove each one of those, that that it's rational, it's been designed, and you have to have absolute standards. And those three things can be summarized into the proper function of a thing. So a human should look at things rationally, should look at things as how they're designed, i.e. man being man, women being women, and then go towards the absolute standards that are set forth in Scripture. And if we do those things, we actually can function properly. Mitch Stokes definitely takes it from a Christian worldview, but ironically, this is all in line with Aristotle. So the sonum bonum that is prevalent throughout all of philosophy, that Aristotle does a really good job of talking about in his work, Nicomachean Ethics, Metaphysics. Yeah, it's all over Aristotle. But it becomes the main thing throughout ancient and medieval philosophy, and it kind of goes away in modern philosophy because we get to define our own. So it becomes a non-factor at that point. But the sonum bonum would be the key cause, key purpose that man is supposed to go pursue, the proper function of man, which is what Mitch Stokes talked about in his book. So again, I will be teaching this at ECS come this fall to probably, I think it's juniors and seniors. Great book, A Shot of Faith Ahead by PhD Mitch Stokes. Highly recommended to someone who wants to get into, really have answers for the rationalist scientific atheist. He does a really good job of breaking it down. Does a really good job of giving a bunch of resources to use. I don't think it's too heady. That junior, senior level in high school is about the right age to be delving into it. So if you're looking for that, if you want some ammo to talk to your pagan friends, if you are an atheist and want to know how a Christian thinks, he is a good resource to check it out. That. So that is my special addition to my summertime reading. Again, I wasn't planning on reading it, but I did. So that's my special one for you, special summer edition. I am planning on getting into Forged Reformation next. That review will be coming up shortly. But at this point, I'm actually kind of enjoying a slower pace of summer. Kind of slower. I've actually been doing a ton of work, but a different pace of summer. Going on vacation soon in about a week and a half after a wedding. Should be fun. But with all this said, like the video if you like this recommendation. Comment below if you have something you want me to review. Share this with someone that you think would like this. If you want to know when my next video comes out, give me a subscribe. Otherwise, for today, the doctor's out.